You know who we are. The most dangerous morning show.
Put some respect on it.
The Breakfast Club.
Go. Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club, and we have a special guest on the line right now.
Yes, indeed.
Natalie Manuel. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing this morning?
I am good. Wide awake, ready to talk.
Now, you're in L.A.
I'm in LA.
So it's super early for you this morning.
So I woke up around 4 o'clock.
Yes.
My daughter in my stomach had me up around 3. So
How many months are you now?
7.
7.
Wow.
So it's almost time.
It is. She comes in December. It is almost time.
Is this your first baby?
First baby.
Oh, wow.
That's a great Christmas gift, though.
Great Christmas gift. She comes, she's due the beginning of December, and then my birthday's December 23rd. So it's just going to be a full month.
Now, hold on. I got a question, Natalie, because, you're used to asking the questions because you got the Now with Natalie series. But being that you're having your baby in December, I would assume towards the end of December, how does that make you feel about the year as a whole? What kind of perspective do you have?
Ooh, that's a great question. Probably the year as a whole is that this year has been a gift. For sure. It's been a gift, especially with her coming. And it's definitely been a challenging year, a challenging season. I mean, for sure, for all of us, being Black in the social climate that we're in and being a woman and then just being pregnant for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall, I'm grateful for this year. But I'm kind of ready to get to 2021. But God uses everything. So
Absolutely.
I just have to know and be focused on that. And he knew. And I'm like, of course I'm pregnant during a pandemic. Like, how am I pregnant during a pandemic?
But that's good, though, because you just get to sit your ass down and just relax and chill and just focus on being pregnant. So that's a good thing. Are you nervous at all?
A little bit. I think there's moments where I'll have like expectation, and then I freak out, like, what am I even doing? Like, do I even know exactly what I'm doing? But all my mom friends just say that it will come to you innately. There's not much preparing that you can do, and that God will just prepare us. So I'm excited and I'm expectant.
Okay.
A tad nervous though.
All right.
Now, the Now with Natalie series, I had the pleasure and the privilege and the honor of doing it. How do you hope to redefine identity and purpose with this series?
So the whole point of Now with Natalie, if any of the viewers or listeners haven't even heard of it, is the whole goal was to dismantle the counterfeit identity and purpose that's being sold to us. And a lot of people are probably like, well, what's the actual counterfeit of, identity and purpose that's being sold to us? Mm-hmm. It's the world and our culture tells us that what we do, who we are, the mistakes we've made, the frailties that we make define us. The money in our account, the cars we drive, the friends that we have, and that's an ultimate, complete, and utter lie. And I think for me, it birthed from a season of going through a really dark season of depression. I worked with my brother previous to Now with Natalie. My brother's Jerry Lorenzo, Fear God.
Never heard of him.
Who even knows who this guy is, right? Like, who even cares? Who even knows? So I worked with him for about 3 years, and I was in a transitional season, and I felt an inkling, God just say, like, it's time for you to transition out. And in that time, I had Now with Natalie, like, a thought of this is what I potentially want to create. But in that time of just that season of waiting, I really hit rock bottom, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. The reason why I'm hitting rock bottom and depression is that I'm so focused on what I do to define me as opposed to who I am and to just be. And so for me, I wanted to create a series that highlights influential people like yourself and people that have a line of faith to really expose that in order for us to see these people doing, we must first be. And that was really kind of the genesis of Now with Natalie.
I wanted to ask, you said you were depressed. What got you into that depressing mode?
Literally because, I'm doing for 3 years. And I realized that I wasn't focused on actually just being who I am. And so my identity was wrapped up in my job title. my identity was wrapped up in the things that I was doing as opposed to who I was. And so I was struggling. I was wrestling because I didn't have work. I wasn't, you're not doing anything. But in that time, I'm so grateful that I went through that because I pinpointed, I was so focused on doing that I just wasn't able to be comfortable in who I am. And so I'm grateful for that season. I never want to go back to it. And I always think and realize that we ask God to take us to the next level in our life, right? We ask him like, okay, I want more. I want the next promises. But we don't realize when we ask him, we go through a season of death and hell.
That's right.
Because that season of death and hell is preparing us for what's to come. It's preparing us for our inheritance. And so for me, I needed those tools in that season of depression to sustain the tools that I've learned to sustain me for what I was asking him to do. So I'm grateful for it. I don't want to go through it again.
Gotcha.
Why do you think shame robs people of their identity?
Because shame wants to tell us who we are. Shame tells us that we are our frailties. We are our mistakes. We are our rejection. And that, what I believe is that Satan uses that as a bait to really distort our minds and our thoughts. And I always say that if we want to know who we are, we must first know who we are not.
Right.
Ooh.
And we have to realize who we are not.
Ooh.
And who we are not is what shame is telling us. And, it goes back to like, we lean on this worldly truth to expect a kingdom result. The worldly truth of the world says that we are defined by our mistakes, our frailties, and all those things, but we want this kingdom truth of joy, happiness, peace, and wholeness. And so that was also why I did for season 2 Shame. It actually birthed from doing an interview with Van Lathan. Van, my brother. We were having a conversation on his old podcast, and we were just talking about church. And he was just saying how he's so shameful to go into the building of church because he feels like people are better than. And I'm like, that's the whole point of a savior. That's the whole point of church, is for the broken people to go. And so in that interview, it just clicked. We need to talk about shame because this is robbing us of our destiny.
Well, you talk about faith. Let's talk about faith a little bit. Now, how does faith play a role in your life and things that you're doing?
It's everything, to be honest. I think that for me, it's something that I grew up in. I grew up in a household where faith was instilled in us day in and day out. But I also know that you have to have your own experience with it. You know what I mean? It's like my parents definitely instilled God, faith, scriptures day in and day out. But I probably built my own relationship with God when I moved to LA about 10 years ago, when I was just on my own and I only had him to lean on.
Where are you originally from?
Pretty much everywhere when people ask, because my dad was a professional baseball player. I don't know if some of you may know, but then turned into a manager, Jerry Manuel. So we traveled the world together. So born in Sacramento, lived in Florida. I say Chicago, but it's really where my family is, but we just say Chicago. So originally from, I guess you could say Chicago, but pretty much everywhere.
Right. You were saying when you moved to LA. You were saying when you moved to LA. We were talking about faith.
Yeah, when I moved to LA, I just realized that's the only thing I had to lean on. And there was a moment where I was so used to leaning on my earthly father and my earthly family that God was like, nah, this is a time for me and you. It goes back to, again, if you want to go do the things that I've called you to do, you need to build this relationship with me. And so it definitely has propelled me into where I am today, and sitting here talking to you guys. And it definitely, it gives me the tools that I need to sustain, to keep going. For sometimes I'm just like, how do people do it without him? I don't get, how do people do it without him and without therapy?
I don't know. I tell people all the time, I pray and I go to therapy. I got therapy today at 3:00.
I literally have my counselor on a retainer.
you know what I love about your show, Natalie? And as I was watching it back yesterday, I thought about it. We don't have enough safe spaces in media for people to express their brokenness.
There we go.
For people to express the things they may be ashamed about. Like I think that we have too much cancel culture, not enough counsel culture.
There we go. And that's why, speaking of cancel culture, I don't know if you saw, I did an episode with Jordan Woods, because we have this proclivity as Black Twitter and as Black America to just cancel our people because of the mistakes and frailties that we all make. It's like, we all sin, we all fall short, we all make mistakes. But the unfortunate part is that these celebrities and influential people they have a microscope, on their lives. And I wanted to create a safe space for people like yourself and, all the other guests that I've had on there to actually talk about, like you said, their brokenness, and talk about their shame, and talk about their purpose, and talk about their identity. And also because a lot of times from the outside world, we're looking at these influential people thinking they have it all together. And that was my strategy. Like, let me get these people that we think we look up to because of what they do. But in all actuality, how they're doing what they're doing is by that string of faith. How they're doing what they're doing is being able to really understand who they are. And so for me, I saw a need, because there's not a lot of platforms that actually have these safe spaces. The great Miles Monroe once said, if you see a problem, become the solution, and that's a part of your purpose. So for me, I just wanted to be a part of the purpose or solution.
How important is confronting your past in order to move forward?
If you don't confront your past, you will not be free. It's like we all want freedom. We all want to heal. But it's like we don't have the ability or strength or vulnerability to actually confront. In order to heal, you have to first recognize, you have to put your pride down and let humility exalt. And then you have to confront. And then from confronting, the healing process starts. But if you don't confront and you just leave it in a treasure chest, you will never be free. And so a lot of times we feel like, oh, I just want to be free. I don't want this baggage on me anymore. But the baggage is there because you're not willing to put your pride down and confront. And that's kind of also what we talk about in season 2, is just how to actually really confront shame in your past in order to be free. And I watched Michael Todd the other day. I don't know if you guys watched his sermons.
Yeah, we just had him on.
Great, right?
Yeah.
Really, really great. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about offense, like how we can be so offended with, people, our past, etc. And so when you ask, why is it so important to confront our shame? He had this great depiction of us actually trying to walk through a door of our purpose, but we can't walk through that door of our purpose because we have all these bags. And so the door can only fit our body in, but because we have all these bags, it's stopping us from going through that door. So that is why it's also important to confront our past.
So you talk about the past and some of the things that you did. You don't want to take it with you. You want to kind of confront it. Does that also mean apologize for the things that you did in the past and to face the things that you've done and the wrongs that you've done?
100%, unequivocally. You must, because, and again, shame says that we shouldn't confront it and that's who we are and it just defines us, but we must forgive. I think that if we don't realize what unforgiveness does to us. You know what I mean? It's like a thing that festers in us that potentially kills us. And we don't even understand how imperative it is to forgive. Forgiveness is a gift to us. It's not a gift to the person. It's freeing us before it's freeing the other person. Don't do it for them. Actually, just do it for you so that you're free.
Right.
And I think that we feel like, well, because he did this or because she did that, I'm not going to forgive them. That's fine, but that's going to kill you internally inside and just fester. But we have to remember that forgiveness is a gift to us.
See, that's the difficult part with me.
It's hard. Everything I'm saying, I've either attempted to walk out or I'm still walking out. But some things are not forgivable for me. Some things I just can't. Like
forgive.
what?
Now, you have a baby in your stomach right now. Somebody threatens your child. You can't forgive that. Now, you cannot harp on it, but you can't forgive that. It's still, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that when I see you, I still want 5 minutes, regardless of what it is. Now, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not harping on it, but I still need my 5 minutes. And if, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that, you're not successful in my book. That's just me. Maybe that is harping on it, but that's who I am because you went too far. If you go at me, it's different. You go at my child, it is what it is.
I get that. And you're right. I'm not a mother just yet, but I can only imagine what it feels like. But my counter would be, we must forgive. We'll never forget, right, but we must forgive because it's going to fester in us. And it's almost like if someone, threatens to do something to my husband or a family member of mine, of course that is the most challenging thing. And I'm not saying that I have the master of forgiveness
right.
at all, but I just know the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That is very true.
I'm working on it. I'm trying.
I'm gonna tell you.
But you don't want your heart to go harden.
No, my heart's not hard, and I have a lot of love in my heart, but it's just certain people I just know are bad people, and I just feel like they are evil.
I understand.
He sound like he needs therapy to me, Natalie.
You said what?
He sound like he needs therapy to me.
I was about to say, do you go to therapy?
No. I've gone a couple of times, me and my wife, for couples therapy, and I have a bunch of I would say advisors that I speak to.
I get that. And that's why it's really challenging to confront the things that you need to confront because it's a process. You actually have to relive it and go through that pain.
Yep.
I get it, but there is a benefit to it.
I believe so.
I understand.
I'm not there yet.
I let go and let God deal with those type of things.
Yeah, you have. Look, for me, there's sometimes I don't let go, but there is some times where I let go and let God.
And I also, I'm not afraid to apologize to someone if I did them wrong. Like if I did somebody wrong and I know that they're holding on to something, because as you said, if you can't forgive a person, then that'll eventually eat them up. So in order to help them be able to forgive themselves or forgive me so they can, get over it, I would rather just apologize.
That's the thing, because what is it doing? How is it benefiting us if we're holding it in? Mm-hmm. To be honest, it's not like by us holding it in is not getting back at the other person. It's that other person, whatever the offense they did is actually just getting to us and it's stopping us. And it's those bags that we talked about that's going to stop us going into the next door. Mm-hmm. That's what I firmly believe wholeheartedly. And it's hard. It's tough. I don't have it mastered down. I just, I know a lot of truth and it's difficult because when you do know a lot of truth, sometimes it's hard to actually walk it out. Mm-hmm. But, we're human and we try our best day in and day out. There's new grace every morning.
Now, Natalie, you're a black woman. You're bringing another, young black woman into the world. And the whole concept, now from the Malcolm X quote that black women are not protected. That's like mainstream now. So how do you stay inspired and driven as a black woman with that current narrative?
That you said that we aren't protected?
Yeah, the concept that black women are not protected. It's a mainstream thing now. That's like that's totally. The current narrative around black women in America. So how do you stay inspired and driven with that?
We aren't protected, but I just feel like we don't have any other choice. That's how I see it. I just think about how do I stay protected and inspired is to look at my ancestors, mm-hmm. look at what they've done for us thus far. Look at, my grandma, think about the blood that's going through my veins. I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it because I know that what they've done for me has got us here today. I mean, it's just, obviously a touchy subject of why we got to vote. It's like, we cannot be lazy. They fought for us to use our voice. And so for me, I have no other choice, especially carrying, a daughter and a seed in my stomach to be that example. And so I stay inspired by knowing that I have to do it for the next. And the next, yes, is my daughter, but the next is the next generation. Too much is given, much is required. Absolutely. And, we have to do what we have to do. And it's unfortunate because we're not protected. And I don't know if and when it will ever change. but I know that we have it in our bones and we have it in our DNA to keep going, and that's what we're doing.
When you say not protected, expound on that, because of course you got men around you that love you and would definitely protect you. So what do you mean when you say you don't feel protected?
Like workplace, just even workplace, not respected. You know, we don't feel respected as a whole human being. Even in the church world, if you will, there's just a lot of things where people would actually more so not, I don't want to say look at us not as a whole human, but kind of feel that way. It's like, oh, well, she's a woman, so that's one. And then, oh, well, she's a Black woman, that's two. And so we are already going in with any room that we go in, we're going in a deficit. Any board meeting, any Zoom calls, any type of church meetings, any social event, we're already going in with a deficit. And so that's what I feel like we're not being protected by the way that the world looks at us. And, you know, because of that, we have to work a little bit harder, unfortunately, but we got it.
Now, it seems like you learn a lot from a lot of the people that you interview and speak with. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from somebody?
Season 1, I had a conversation with, and he was in Tyson Chandler's episode, a homeless man. And I asked him what success was to him. And this struck me so hard. Homeless man, he said, I have about $1.68 in my pocket, $1.68, but I feel successful because I have peace. I feel successful because I know that the peace that I'm feeling is sustaining me. And that shifted my trajectory, because we know how we define success. And that's also the whole point of the show, is trying to redefine it. But that struck me so hard that I'm over here worried about this and that and makeup and hair and who we're talking to next. And this guy that doesn't have a place to live, doesn't know when his next meal is, but says that he's happy and he feels successful because he has peace. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've definitely learned throughout this trajectory of these 2 seasons.
What's success to you? Since you asked him, what's success to you?
Success to me is just living in the will of God. I actually had an interview with a friend the other day, and she told me, and it struck me again. She goes, success is not about the results and numbers. And that's very hard. We all know that that's very hard and difficult to not look at results and numbers and how things are doing, but success is faithfulness. And I was like, oof. And what does faithfulness actually mean? It's just being faithful of what God has given us. That's success, because we have to do our part and let God do the rest. So for me, I would just say success is being in the will of God, you know, and I did wrestle, and I still do wrestle with having the worldly view of success, wrestle with the kingdom view of success. That's hard. It's challenging, but I want to stay in the area of the kingdom, but it's very difficult. We're human, of, you know, wanting now with Natalie to go viral and wanting people to actually watch the show, wanting people to understand what they're getting from these conversations. And, you know, that is a part of my desire that I want. But at the end of the day, I just need to remain steadfast and know that if I've done all that I can, let God do the rest, then that will have to be what success is for me.
You know what? That's very interesting you say that, because, you know, your show is so intentional, right? It's so intentional. It serves a purpose. So you really can't measure your numbers compared to everybody else's numbers. And I'll tell you why. It could be a guy that farts in a bottle today and it'll get 10 million views. That means nothing. But
I appreciate that.
If you get 10,000, that means 10,000 people got touched by the intentional word that you're delivering. I would take those 10,000 people that got something instilled in them that means something, as opposed to those 10 million that got something meaningless put into their minds.
Absolutely.
That's a word. And I wrestle with it, though. I'm going to be honest. You know, I'm human. I wrestle with it because you get it as an artist. You put all that you can in something and you know why you're doing it. But then you have to realize that purpose is not resulted in numbers. Purpose is not resulted. And I have to go back and remember it's about that one. Like you said, if there's 5,000, if there's 2,000 that actually receive it and are able to chew it and understand what it is, then I've done my part. And so for me, success, going back to your question, is also just walking out what God's called me to do.
That's
At
right.
the end of the day, it's like, if this is what you asked me to do, I know that you're going to follow me, and I know that you're going to finish it off, and I'm just a vessel to do it. And understanding that if I finish what he's called me to do, I feel successful. So right now, season 2 is done. We are we're in episode 4. We have 6 more to go. And just knowing that that's what it is. And like you said, Charlamagne, that's a great word. It's like, knowing that the world, sometimes looks for other content that might not line up to purpose-filled content, but understanding that it's purpose-filled. And when it hits the ears and the eyes of the people that it needs to hit, it will penetrate their hearts.
That's right. You can check it out Now with Natalie. It's on YouTube on the Hillsong channel.
YouTube.com/Hillsong channel, or just go to YouTube and search Now with Natalie.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on the show,
and
and I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day. And if I don't talk to you beforehand, a healthy delivery.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys. And I'm honored to be on the show with you guys. Big fans. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
Peace,
hold that
Natalie.
baby so tight. They grow so damn fast. I got 5 of them. Charlamagne got 3. Those babies get old so damn fast. You want them young, so just enjoy them.
That's what I hear. Appreciate it.
All right, Natalie.
Bye,
Thank-
y'all.